Our second guest tonight, this guy has been around the world, not only reporting, but analyzing in photography as well. And we are now going to be talking to a longtime reporter and photographer, Dan Carubia. What's going on, Dan?
Hey, how are you tonight? How are you? Thanks for letting me on your program.
Oh, we're happy that you're on, man. We had Cynthia Freeland from the NFL Network on, and now we have you. I mean, a star-stunning, show with all the greatness right over here. How are you and your family? Yeah, I'm here. How are you and your family?
We're doing well. My wife is home here, working out of our house up here in Valencia, New York, and it's given me a little bit of time to look at some of this photography that I've done over many years and kind of put them and reorganize. So that's the good stuff. I just feel bad for all the people that have lost loved ones and were sick and now hopefully got healed and everything. So my thoughts and everybody on that go out to all those people too,
Oh, it's been crazy, and they were saying that by June 1st, the death total every single day will be an average of 3,000 people a day worldwide.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
That's going to be tough.
It's crazy. It really is. But we're trying to keep in the loop right now in sports. The Last Dance with the Chicago Bulls of the '98 Bulls. I mean, that's an incredible series right now. I want to know your opinion. Have you been watching it?
A little bit, yes. It's funny. And I was going to talk about this later on, but when I was living in San Francisco from 1993 to 1996, I would come out and I would see the Bulls play the Golden State Warriors. And then when I was transferred back to Boston, I drove from San Francisco to Salt Lake City a day after Thanksgiving, and I guess it was 1996, 97, and I drove all that distance, got into Salt Lake City, went to the hotel, and the Salt Palace was right around the corner from where the hotel where I was staying. And I said, oh, man, let me see if I can go over there. So I checked in the hotel, walked over, and, I just saw these people standing outside, and they were smoking cigarettes. So I go, is the game on? Oh, yeah, it's halftime. I said, great. I said, what's the score? Bulls are up. Okay, good. And they started to walk back in. I said, well, I'll follow them in. I had my camera, so I walk in. Now, I didn't have a ticket. I'm inside. So I stood up a little bit for the first portion of the second half. And I saw down by the floor there was a space between the camera people sitting on the floor. So there was a timeout. I had my camera. I said, what's the worst thing that can happen? They throw me out. I don't even have a ticket, so they'll really throw me out. So I walked down there. Timeout was going on. People standing up. I just sat down right next to the photographer, and who was next to me. I go, hi, how you doing? Fine, how are you? Very good. I had a kind of a long lens. I sat down. So I got some wonderful photos of Jordan, Karl Malone, Pippen, and a lot of the Salt Lake City team.
Yes, and the Utah Jazz. Yep.
And it was just I was in the right place at the right time, and I watched Jordan because I was so close to him at that time, and the way he moved, how quick he was, how he fed off, and the game was different then. Okay. There was more passing on the inside, and Jordan was so strong going up to the basket. Wherever he was a threat no matter where he was. And to watch that presentation and stuff, it was amazing. And there's a gentleman named Concannon who did the video for that and everything. Mm-hmm. He's a friend of the family, long family friend. And I know his dad and mom. And to see how they transformed that into that specific stuff on Jordan was absolutely stunning.
Dan, you were telling me when I was talking to you on the phone, you were telling me about an experience when your dad wanted you to sneak on the field in order to meet Jackie Robinson. What was that experience like? Obviously, being a different time, there was less security at the stadiums, but also the baseball fans themselves were all formals. They were all in suits. They all brought their own food, kind of thing. Talk about that experience, and again, why you would never see that kind of thing today.
Well, this was, and my dad's long passed, And I'm doing a memoir now. And I'll tell you in a minute why I'm doing it. But this is in 1956. And we didn't have a family car. I lived in Richmond Hill, Queens, New York. And we took my father said to me about a couple days before, I got tickets for the Brooklyn Dodger game at Ebbets Field. I would watch the Dodgers from about 1954, 1955 when they won the World Series against the Yankees, who I hated. And now it's 1956. It's a summer's day. And we take a train, and it was an elevator train down into Brooklyn, taking a subway train, 2 stops, and then we took a shuttle train over to Ebbets Field. Now, this is my first game with my dad ever I went to. I had a black and white TV. So we go into the rotunda at Ebbets Field, and the smell of hot dogs. And, this is, I forget lists that I have to take right now, but I remember this from that day. The smell of hot dogs, guys selling programs, lineup, scorecard, hot dog, And we walked down a long corridor to third base, and we were sitting by the bullpen, the visiting bullpen. And I walk up the little level to where the aisle was in left field, and everything was green. The grass was the greenest grass I've ever seen. A black scoreboard, advertising on the left field wall. It was all in color. It blew my mind. And now I had a little brownie camera, and the Dodgers would come down. So there's a red railing right by the bullpen where I was sitting, where home plate was by the bullpen. And I'm taking a picture of Gil Hodges, Duke Snyder, a couple other Dodgers that were there, pitchers that I don't remember. And now all of a sudden my father said to me, "Give me the camera." I said, "Pop, I can take the picture. I'm doing it now. Give me the camera." Now, my father's an Italian guy. You didn't want to mess with him, okay? So I gave him the camera. 5 seconds later, he said, "I want you to hop the railing and go on the field. I want a picture with you and this ball player." I said, "Pop, I can't do it. This is my first game. I can't even go on the field. It's a professional field. Get on the field." Okay. So I stood on the chair, the seat, hopped on the red railing, and hopped over onto the field. And I'm walking out to this player. Now, I don't remember what I said to him. I was scared to death. But I remember what he said to me. He said, "Sure, son, turn around." Now, 2 things I will remember until the day I die. How hard his arm felt on my shoulder, and the dew from the grass hitting me in the face. My father took the picture. He said to me, "Are you a Dodger fan?" I said, "Yeah, I got my Brooklyn Dodger shirt on." He goes, "If I had a baseball, I'd give it to you." I said, No, the picture was fine. Thank you. I want you to, good luck. Good luck." He said, "Thanks," and he patted me on the head. Now, fast forward to years later. I never, ever, ever asked my dad why Jackie Robinson. It was Gil Hodges. It was Duke Snyder. It was Carl Furillo. Why Jackie Robinson? Well, I played baseball for 55 years. I played in the hardball league out in Long Island, all over the place, okay? And I played with many different teammates. And those teammates were all different colors. But the one thing I looked at was the name on the uniform. And to this day, that thing in my dad, what he did for me, that was the first time I ever snuck on a ball field. And from then on, it just took off. And it was a challenge to just take photos of players that maybe might make the Hall of Fame, that I liked and enjoyed watching them play, or I was just on the field because I could get on the field at any time. And I shouldn't have done it, but I did, and I got a lot of photos.
I know you've been around for a long, long time, and you got to meet a lot of different people and interview some people as a reporter and actually take pictures of some of the greatest athletes of all time. Is there a particular moment in your life as a reporter or as a photographer that really stood out the most to you?
Yes, without a doubt. It was February 22nd, 1980. And I went to the Russian-American game. Now, a week before that, a year before that, I wrote away to the Olympic Committee for tickets. And I just picked out, I wanted to go the last couple of games, or the last couple of dates. And I got tickets for that Russian-American game. And that's the game that stands out the most to me because in 1960, my dad took me to a American-Russian game, an exhibition game at Madison Square Garden. And Jack McCartney was the goaltender that night. And I remember even the Russian goaltender, his name was Nikolai Puchkov.
Yep.
And I watched McCartney play because I was a goalie playing roller hockey and ice hockey. And now I'm watching Jim Craig. And the week before they lost to the Russians in Madison Square Garden, I felt that if they only could lose by 3 goals, maybe that would be a moral victory. But to be at that stadium when Eruzione scored, to be at that stadium in the last 5 minutes when Craig made these great saves, and the crowd, 8,000 people, the last small Olympics, and that crowd yelling USA, USA, USA. And that was the best, wonderfulest, most surprising victory I've ever seen, or rooting for a team. And I had my camera that game, and I got a lot of pictures of the game. But I didn't cheer, I didn't stand up. All I did was watch. And then on Sunday, I had no tickets for that game. And that was the gold medal game at 11 o'clock. And I said, man, I got to get into this game somehow. So I've been getting a little bit more experience in like getting into facilities like this. And you wait, at the time, you wait for a little bit of confusion, or just when people going into something real quick. And I used my ticket from the day before because they just cut off a stub of it. And the people went into the stadium at the rink in Lake Placid, and it was steps, wide steps, and there was 2 ticket takers on the left and right. And I just went between all the people and walked up the stairs and watched the game standing up. And that was when they won that gold medal game, it was wonderful. But the Russian game with Jim Craig, and what was great about that to me was that the young players of that era, they were college players. They were playing a professional team, the Russian big bad army team. And a coach told them, you can do it. And they did it. And a funny story behind that, too. 1964, my friends and I went to the Olympic exhibition game at Madison Square Garden. We met the players at the Hotel Manhattan. We walked with Herb Brooks and Bob Turk to the game. And we got the sticks of Bob Turk and Herb Brooks after the game. And Herb Brooks was cut from that Olympic team. And you never know, like, that's why I'm thinking photography that I wound up doing, or some interviews that I did, it was just really for me because of how my father sets the stuff in place to do that. And that was the greatest game I ever, that was the highlight of anything I've ever seen.
Dan, what was your favorite stadium and or ballpark to cover a sporting event in, and why?
I love Shea Stadium. I grew up at Shea Stadium. I went to the first game there. I would mostly remember that. You know, Ebbets Field, when I went, was a small little stadium, and I could remember my dad let me walk around the stadium all I wanted, but it was very small, very right next to the players. But I was a 9-year-old kid, 10-year-old kid, and I didn't go there as much. I maybe went there 5 times. But Shea, went to the first game there. I ushered at Shea. I went to the last game at Shea. I knew the ushers there. I knew fans that were there. The girl I was dating, her aunt had seats 50G and 50F at Madison at Shea Stadium, and her aunt would give us tickets to the game. So I was very comfortable at Shea. Recently, I like San Francisco. I lived out in San Francisco for a while, long before they built the new ballpark, but I've been out at the new ballpark. That was a wonderful stadium. And then, not just talking baseball, the Montreal Forum. I went to the next to the last game at the Forum in Montreal. And I was up there working a couple times, and to walk through that stadium where Henri Richard played, Maurice Richard, Boom Boom Jeffrey, and Jacques Plante, where Saturday night was the best thing going, and Rene Doucette would sing the Canadian national anthem. And that was a wonderful stadium to go to, and an arena to watch a game. But you know, Shea Stadium has a little. That's where I enjoyed that game the most, and so I went.